In terms of the fourth quarter, they had all but one of their buckets was inside the paint. Was that them just being able to get into the paint and get whatever they want because of that point of attack defense like you were talking about?
Yeah, they had that and 9 free throws.
The WNBA is knee-deep in controversy once again, as head coach Stephanie White let loose after a crushing 89-87 loss to the Los Angeles Sparks. But this wasn't just another close game. It was a boiling point. Missed calls, blown whistles, and flat-out inconsistent officiating created a recipe for chaos. For the Indiana Fever, it wasn't just a loss. It was a familiar nightmare, one that's been unfolding all season thanks to refs who can't seem to keep it consistent when it matters most.
What in the world did I just sit through? What did I just witness? I'm pretty sure I just had years shaved off the back end of my life. What a tough, ugly watch this game was, and on top of it, they lost. They lost.
Saturday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse felt less like a basketball game and more like another episode in the WNBA's growing officiating disaster. Once again, the Indiana Fever were on the receiving end of baffling calls. Decisions so questionable, they'd leave any coach wondering whether fairness still has a seat at the table in today's
The LA Sparks just got the spark versus the Fever for some reason, man. But the Sparks always have matched up well with the Fever since last season, man. Tough ending for the Fever girls. Just some missed free throws, some questionable shots. Could have got it, man. Close game. I ain't even mad. The intensity is there, man. This team, if they can keep up this intensity, is going to be real nice when Caitlin Clark gets back. So
what should have been a defining win for the Indiana Fever turned into yet another gut-wrenching collapse. One that perfectly summed up their frustrating season. Up 87-83 with just 1:43 left on the clock, the Fever were within reach of their first 3-game winning streak of the year, but instead of closing the door, they fell apart. The Los Angeles Sparks ripped off a brutal 6-0 run while Indiana went ice cold, missing their last 5 shots and failing to score a single point down the stretch. Missed opportunities, shaky decision-making, and inconsistent officiating once again sealed their fate in heartbreaking fashion.
Well, this doesn't feel good, does it? After riding high after the last few games, beating the Wings, beating the Lynx, beating the Aces, looking pretty good doing it, we go up against the Los Angeles Sparks. Nice. Los Angeles Sparks. Last time we saw you guys, we were beating you down for a majority of the game, and then Kelsey Plum goes off in the fourth quarter. Sparks take the lead and win. Damn.
The defeat stung even more because it encapsulated all the frustrations of the Fever's turbulent 2025 season. Caitlin Clark, still out with a groin injury for the 5th straight game, watched from the bench as her team tried to keep the momentum alive. Without their marquee star, Indiana had pieced together a remarkable run, including a shocking Commissioner's Cup victory over the Minnesota Lynx, but against the Sparks, it all unraveled. In just a few late-game minutes, the progress, poise, and promise vanished, replaced by old habits and another missed opportunity.
For all the stupid haters saying, oh, they can win more without Caitlin Clark, tonight proved that they need Caitlin Clark. What a goofy play. That last play was horrible. They had multiple chances to win this game, but they lose to bad teams. That's not good. You got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. LA Sparks is not a good basketball team, and they lost to them.
Aaliyah Boston powered the Fever with 23 points and 12 boards, while Natasha Howard chipped in 21 points and 9 rebounds of her own. Kelsey Mitchell added 19 points, hitting her 600th career three-pointer and surpassing Fever assistant coach Brian January for second most games played in franchise history. But even with those standout performances, Indiana's Achilles heel reappeared, an inability to finish strong. Once again, clutch time execution slipped through their fingers, turning a promising night into another painful lesson in missed chances and late-game breakdowns.
But Kelsey Mitchell's got it going, and she's been brilliant recently, and Aaliyah Boston continues to have an awesome season. And I love the physicality that Aaliyah Boston is showing, but they weren't able to get it done down the stretch against the Sparks.
What you think Indiana Fever lost because of Caitlin Clark or without CaitlinClark.com? Please give your opinion in the comment box. The game was marred by the kind of officiating controversies that have become all too familiar for Fever fans this season. The most glaring incident involved Kelsey Plum's aggressive play against Lexi Hull in the fourth quarter, which perfectly encapsulated the double standards that have frustrated Stephanie White all year long. With the game hanging in the balance, Plum made contact with Hull during a defensive sequence, causing Hull to fall to the ground. What happened next was the kind of Bush legal behavior that would have resulted in immediate ejections in any self-respecting basketball league.
All right, so this play right here is when they were trying to trap Kelsey Plum, and Kelsey Plum ended up kind of bowing Lexi over and then stepping over, like really kneeing her body, knocking her back, and then walking over her, fam.
Plum, clearly frustrated with what she perceived as flopping, stepped over Hull as she tried to get up, essentially trampling her in the process. The officials, displaying the same incompetence that has defined their approach to Fever games all season, called it a jump ball and allowed play to continue. The incident was so egregious that even casual observers expected some form of penalty. Plum was later caught on camera yelling at officials, but received no punishment for her outburst or her physical aggression toward Hull. The contrast with how the league has treated similar incidents involving Fever players throughout the season was stark and revealing.
And how she cuss out refs, look at her. She was saying she flopped. She really flopped. Then she said she effing flopped. That's a effing flop. That's basically what she said right there. Kelsey Plum, man. Kelsey Plum. Yeah, she got away with murder on that one, man. She got away with murder on this one. I don't know how they did.
This wasn't an isolated incident. It was the latest example of a documented pattern that has seen the Indiana Fever consistently receive unfavorable treatment from WNBA officials. Throughout the 2025 season, Stephanie White has been forced to waste precious timeouts and challenges on calls so obviously wrong that they bordered on the absurd. Earlier in the season, White had already been fined by the league for criticizing officiating after controversial losses to the New York Liberty and Washington Mystics. Her comments about the egregious treatment of her team and the unbelievable disrespect from officials had cost her financially, but she clearly felt the issue was too important to ignore. The Fever have found themselves in impossible situations time and again, whether it's Sydney Colson getting called for fouls on clean defensive plays that White had to challenge and overturn, or obvious contact against Fever players being ignored while phantom calls go against Indiana. The pattern has been unmistakable. White has been forced to use her challenges early in games to correct blatantly incorrect calls, leaving her team vulnerable in crucial late-game situations.
Sydney Colson, man, shout out to her, dog. I can't overlook her. 6 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds with that intelligent block. Like it. 2 of 4 from the floor and then 2 of 3 from the 3. I mean, she was shooting like she was the scorer of the team. She put on her airy bag tonight. My goodness.
The most frustrating aspect for White and her coaching staff has been the inconsistency in how physical play is officiated. When Sophie Cunningham gets into altercations defending her teammates, she faces ejections and fines. When opposing players target Fever stars with aggressive play, they often escape with minimal consequences. When Cunningham delivered a hard foul on J.C. Sheldon after Sheldon had poked Caitlin Clark in the eye, she was immediately ejected and fined. Yet when the Sparks' Kelsey Plum essentially assaulted Lexi Hull with no consequences, the double standard became impossible to ignore. Cunningham has repeatedly stated that she will protect her teammates, saying, "I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. I'm a team player." Her jersey sales skyrocketed after the Sun incident, and she gained hundreds of thousands of new social media followers who appreciated her loyalty.
I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
In Saturday's game against the Sparks, Cunningham found herself in another physical altercation, this time with Julie Van Loo during a scramble for a loose ball. Van Loo appeared to grab Cunningham around the neck during the play, but both players handled the situation with maturity, walking away with smiles and diffusing what could have been another explosive moment. Clark's injury history this season reads like a medical chart. First, a quadriceps strain that cost her multiple weeks. Now, a groin injury that has extended her absence well beyond initial projections. White has been cautious with Clark's return, repeatedly stating that the team wants to ensure she's 100% ready to go and that they're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness. The coach has emphasized that they don't want the injury to linger or require Clark to return too soon.
A disaster. This was a disaster. The Indiana Fever cannot keep losing to teams like the LA Sparks if they're supposed to be a good team. And Rickea Jackson, she just flat abused the Fever in the last 3 minutes of the game. Seriously, what was that?
Clark's absence has exposed both the depth and limitations of the Fever roster. While they managed to win 3 consecutive games without her, including impressive defensive performances against the Minnesota Lynx and Las Vegas Aces, the loss to the Sparks revealed their ongoing struggles with late-game execution. The timing of Clark's injuries has been particularly frustrating, coming just as the team was building momentum. Her impact on the game extends far beyond statistics. She averaged 19 points, 9.3 assists, and 6 rebounds before her latest injury. More importantly, her presence changes how officials call games, how opponents defend, and how the Fever execute in crucial moments.
And this is now 2 losses to the Sparks without Clark. They've lost to the Connecticut Sun, who have the worst record in the league without Clark. They lost to the Mystics, who are really right there with them in the standings, but they're a better team than the Mystics. And then, of course, they've actually, dropped a couple games they should have won with Clark in the lineup. To be fair, the Valkyries game and specifically the Las Vegas Aces game.
Stephanie White's frustration with WNBA officiating has been building throughout the season, and Saturday's loss to the Sparks pushed her closer to another public outburst. While she was more measured in her post-game comments compared to her earlier fined statements, the underlying tension was unmistakable. The coach's frustration is rooted in her belief that the game has evolved faster than the officiating. The game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger, White observed. Everybody's getting better except the officials. This critique gets to the heart of the WNBA's officiating problem, a failure to adapt to the modern game's pace and physicality. White's willingness to risk additional fines by speaking out reveals the depth of her convictions. After receiving her first fine for criticizing officials, she sarcastically asked reporters, "Do you want me to get fined again? Because I did just get fined." Her decision to continue advocating for her team despite financial consequences demonstrates her commitment to protecting her players.
Collectively, as a whole, the league has to step in and do something. I just think that there has to be some improvements in certain areas.
What would be the main one, you think, if you could just pick one top area?
Are we trying to get fined again?
No.
Because I did just get fined.
The issues plaguing the Indiana Fever are symptomatic of league-wide officiating problems that have drawn criticism from coaches and players across the WNBA. White herself has observed. Her assessment that bad officiating is bad officiating has resonated with fans and media members who have witnessed similar inconsistencies in games throughout the league. This statistic alone should have prompted league intervention, yet the pattern has continued into 2025. The officiating inconsistencies have real consequences beyond individual games. They affect team chemistry, player safety, and the overall integrity of the competition. When coaches are forced to waste challenges on obviously incorrect calls, when star players are targeted without consequences, and when games are decided by inconsistent officiating standards, the league's credibility suffers.
I thought you got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that...
The solution to the WNBA's officiating crisis isn't complicated, but it requires acknowledgement from league leadership that the current system isn't working. Officials need better training, clearer guidelines, and consistent enforcement of player safety rules. The league must also recognize that protecting stars like Caitlin Clark isn't favoritism, it's good business and good basketball. Stephanie White's advocacy for her team, while costly in terms of fines, has been necessary and admirable. Her willingness to speak truth to power, even at personal expense, demonstrates the kind of leadership that players respect and fans appreciate. The Indiana Fever's season has been defined by resilience in the face of adversity, injuries to key players, inconsistent officiating, and the pressure of elevated expectations. While Saturday's loss to the Sparks was disappointing, it was also revealing. It showed that this team has the talent to compete at the highest level, but they need consistent officiating and the return of their star player to reach their full potential.
All that this team is better without Caitlin Clark. Let's put that to bed now. This team lost back-to-back games at home versus the LA Sparks, who are at the bottom of the WNBA. This team lost at home to the Connecticut Sun, who are the worst team in the WNBA. All that they're better without Caitlin Clark. Put that to bed. Stop it, man. Enough's enough. Stephanie White, can you have your troops ready to go out there and play ball? What are we doing?
As the Fever prepare for their next challenge, they can take solace in knowing that their coach will continue fighting for them, both on the court and in press conferences. Stephanie White's willingness to go to war with league officials on behalf of her players has established her as exactly the kind of advocate this team needs. Whether the WNBA will finally listen to her concerns remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: she won't stop speaking out until real change occurs. As they work to get a run of games going and await Caitlin Clark's return from injury, they can at least take comfort in knowing they have a coach who will fight for them every step of the way. Stephanie White's passion and advocacy, while sometimes costly, represents everything that's right about competitive basketball and everything that needs to change about WNBA. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.